In this video, you're going to learn how music producers like you landed their first major label projects, and we'll finally answer the question, was it all luck or was there some strategy? In order to do this right, I had to bring in some backup. Meet Mark, Ryan, Aaron, and Jeff. These guys are all part of the ecosystem here at Dark Label, and each one of them has a very different story of how they landed their first major label projects. Hey everyone, my name is Daniel Grimmett from Dark Label Music. We're a producer management company here in Nashville that also educates freelance music producers on how to launch and grow their businesses. Watch these clips carefully, and then at the end, we're going to loop back around and I'm going to share my thoughts on whether I think it was all luck or strategy. Let's dive in.
The way I got my first major label project is I was posting a bunch on Instagram of me working with independent artists. I just moved back to Charlotte. I was thinking about potentially moving back to New York or somewhere else where I was more in a major industry, but I was just posting every day. And then I saw a picture show up, and it was like a really cool looking studio. It was like pink and white and looked dope, neon everywhere. And I clicked on it and I was like, oh, wait, this is in Charlotte. What? And so I just DM'd the IG account, and Kevin McCloskey was running it. It was Black Pearl Studios. And I just asked if he wanted to grab coffee. We hung out and at his studio and just became really good friends. And he already knew from me posting a bunch of stuff that I was active, I was competent. And then he just like started throwing me work. This was maybe 2015 or 16 or something. And threw me a couple records, and I started assisting him and doing finishing work, because that's what I was doing for everything else, is just finishing up records. So I kind of became like his go-to. It was either Virgil, which is a Portuguese artist, or Duckworth. I forgot which. They were around the same time. They were in production around the same time. So Future, Lil Baby, Da Baby, 88 Rising isn't major label, but I think they're at the same level. Joji, August 08.
Yeah, cool. So mine, I suppose, maybe a little bit different in that it wasn't via management, A&Rs, or anyone on the industry side, really. I actually met the artist in a Nando's, which is like a semi-fast food place over here in London. The artist was Conor Maynard. It was kind of like an event thing, kind of not. I just approached him, got chatting, left him with my number, and just said, like, I'd love to connect. Here's what I do. And we had a good chat. And then I got a text, I think it was about a week later, just saying like, hey, I'm working on this thing. Would love for your help. And it was to do some covers. So I don't know how familiar you are with these covers, but we started working on a bunch of those. And then over the course of quite several months, it developed into working on a bunch of original music, and then I ended up doing that entire kind of next batch of releases, and they were all under Parlophone, under Warner UK. I definitely knew who he was just from social media, but I wasn't like I couldn't have said you much about his career, but I knew I liked his voice a lot, and that was enough for me to get chatting. And then we really got along. We had a lot of commonalities, like we hung out a bunch. And that really helped. And there was nothing forced about it. We just hung out. We both were making music. It was making these covers. They were really doing well. So there was a lot of great responses. And then he just suggested like, hey, let's move on and just start writing. And we brought in a few writers. We brought in someone that he works really closely with and has for years. And then we did a bunch of things to get to the first song. Like, it wasn't just, hey, let's do a first few sessions and then there's a release. It was a lot of work, because he was in a kind of intermediary phase with his artistry and was kind of figuring out his next sonic and where he wanted to go sonically. And that was really fun to do as well, because I was probably 18 at the time, so I was quite young. So it was like a very good way of getting a lot of experience very quickly.
Real quick, before we dive into the next clip, there are two things that I need to fill you in on. Number one is the Producer Files, which is our business newsletter. And number two is the Music Pro Daily podcast. Both of these resources go way deeper into this business stuff than our YouTube videos do. So check those out. Links are in the description below.
The first major label project that I had the privilege of working on was Shot of Flow 6 by Anneli Choppa. And it was kind of interesting how it came about. So I started basically posting content on my Instagram and on YouTube because at the start of my producing journey, I really didn't have any connections. And I figured that was the best way that I thought to make new connections and meet people in the space. A friend of mine, Daniel, also named Daniel, reached out to me because he saw one of my guitar playing videos that I had posted on Instagram and basically just asked me if I could send him some melody loops. And so I loaded him up with a pack. Fast forward a couple months of us working back and forth. He was represented by Cash Money AP, and he was sort of showing Cash Money the beats that we had made together. Cash Money, I guess, really liked the stuff that I was making. So he reached out to me directly and basically asking to represent me on a management level. Yeah, I agreed to that. Fast forward a couple months, we were just working. I was sending him a lot of melodies, and there was a session for an artist named Lil Mo, and he asked for a pack of like hard piano melodies for that. And so I made like 5 loops just in a night and sent him over. And Lil Mo ended up recording on one of the melodies. Nothing ever ended up happening with that song. So fast forward like a couple more months, Cash Money was, I think, in the studio with NLE Choppa, and he was looking for a beat for his next Shot of Flow. Cash Money AP remembered that we had made some hard piano melodies for Lil Mo. So he pulled up one of the melodies that I had done for that session and basically made the beat for Shot of Flow 6. And NLE Choppa recorded on it, and the rest is history.
I got my first, proper label project, I think, through a happy accident. It's a fun story. So I had bought this new sample pack. So I was just fooling around one afternoon before dinner, found a sound in it that I liked and just kind of made it this random little pattern and made this track in 20 minutes. It was just like, I'm just messing around, basically figuring out what some of the sounds are in this sample pack that I bought. It was one of those Jules Jaden ones, and that guy's stuff sounds awesome. If you've never used them, he's all over Splice and everywhere. His stuff's awesome. He's been doing it for a long time and has so much vibe. Anyway, so made this beat. I sort of wanted to put a chorus or an idea together, so I just put some headphones on, grabbed the mic, and just sang down literally the first thing that came into my head, and then sort of cut some harmonies on it and made this beat. And I'd been talking with an A&R named Joseph about sending him some beats. I thought, this could be a really good one to send over to Joseph, and so I was on my computer, and when you're on the Messenger app, it has the little initial in the circle on the Messenger Messages app, the Apple Messages app. And I'd also been texting my friend Andreas Moss, whose real name is Jonathan, right? So his icon is a little J as well. And he's an amazing songwriter and artist, and we'd known each other for a long time. We met on a music festival up north like 8 years before or something. We've been friends for a long time, played shows in New Zealand, played shows all around America, like good friends. Okay, so I was texting him about something else, unrelated. And I was going to drop this rough, I got 10 minutes before dinner. I'm just going to drop this rough off and say, hey, Joseph, I made this beat. I think it's dope. We were talking about firing some stuff over. This could be something. Send it over. And I dragged it into the J and hit send. And it didn't go to Joseph. It went to Jonathan, Andreas, right? And so he was like, what is this? This is sick. And I'm like, oh, no, I meant to send that to someone else. I'm sorry. So I send it off to Joseph and say, hey, this beat. I think it's dope. It could be one of the things we're talking about. He was like, this is sick. And then I get messages. My phone is blowing up from Andreas. I have to have this song, man. I got so many ideas. I'm literally flying to Sweden tomorrow. Can I come over? I'm in a session. I was so excited. I knocked my stuff over. I am literally flying to Sweden tomorrow. Can I come over after my session finishes tonight and cut some vocals? I want to show you, it's going to be sick. And I'm like, I already showed someone else, but he was so, I have to have it, that I was like, oh man, come over, let's go. So he showed up at my house at 1 a.m. and he cut vocals for about 40 minutes and we just comped it. I didn't really need to edit anything. I think most of the vocal on the record is the first pass, and he cut some harmonies and some backs and stuff. And then he flew to Sweden, and I sent him the thing a day later once I'd had a chance just to finesse the mix a little bit, and he lost his mind. And then that became the single. I had to kind of pull it back from Joseph, and say, listen, man, I had a happy accident and it came out, and this was 2016. So right before Christmas 2016, it came out, and everyone was so pumped. And it was straight onto New Music Friday, racked up a few million streams pretty much straight away, which was, it's not the numbers, but even back then it was like, man, that was massive for someone that no one had heard of. And I think it was one of the first kind of sort of more pop, like real pop things coming out in Nashville at that. 2016, a lot of pop stuff here now, but I feel like at the time it was like, man, there wasn't that many people doing it. I feel like Andreas was really hitting some stuff early on in the modern sort of trappy hip hop pop inspired vibey wavy kind of space. Some of the stuff he was doing was pretty sick. Anyway, so that was a fun story, and me and him worked on a bunch of stuff since, and it led to a bunch of projects, like people hearing it and being like, I want to work with you, this stuff's dope, so yeah, fun story about sending the song to the wrong person and then it just leading to some awesome opportunities, so
on the surface, it could appear that all of these guys got really lucky. And yes, all of these guys did get lucky. But after the cameras went off, Jeff and I kept talking, and I made a joke that I could see all of the YouTube comments now just saying things like, oh, so basically you just have to get really lucky in order to be successful. And I want to share Jeff's reply to that. He said, well, yeah, man, but isn't everything in life about luck? You meet your husband or wife, that's luck. You didn't crash your car today, that's luck. He said, and I agree with him here, that the only difference between him and anyone else producing music is that he is just a doer. Some people will do it and most won't. It really is that simple. And we both agreed that a lot of people will just kind of give it 50% effort because it's comfortable, and then they can always look back when they're older and be like, well, yeah, I could have done it and gone all the way if I put in more effort, but it's all good. I gave it my best shot. And they're okay with that. By nature, people do not want to lose or make mistakes and feel embarrassed, but success is not really measured by how perfectly you do something without making mistakes. It's just measured by, did you hit your goal or not? It requires some maturity. And this is something that we instill in our producers here at Dark Label, no matter their age. Maturity is having the ability to show up over and over again and be a doer without seeing instant results. You've got to trust yourself and your roadmap. If you don't have a roadmap and you feel lost, then get one. We're happy to help. The link is in the description below. Feel free to reach out. And if you're not ready to do that yet, then go ahead and pick your next Dark Label video to watch. Peace out.